Today, I'll expose the 7 signs that show your woman is emotionally bonded to another man before she even cheats. Understanding these signs isn't about paranoia or controlling behavior. It's about recognizing when the foundation of your relationship is being undermined, when emotional intimacy that should belong to you is being redirected elsewhere, and when what looks like innocent friendship is actually the beginning stages of betrayal. Before we begin, hit subscribe and drop a comment if any of these signs sound familiar. It might open another man's eyes before it's too late. And make sure you watch until the end, because I'll reveal what all these signs mean collectively and what you should do if you recognize multiple patterns in your relationship. Sign 1. She shares her feelings with him, not you. This is often the first and most significant sign that an emotional bond is forming. Emotional cheating begins with emotional dependency, and dependency starts when she redirects her vulnerability away from you and towards someone else. What it looks like, when something upsets her at work, she doesn't come home to talk about it with you. She texts him during her lunch break. When she's stressed about family issues, she doesn't process those feelings with you over dinner. She confides in him through late-night messages. When she's excited about a personal achievement or worried about a decision, he's the first person she reaches out to for perspective. He becomes her safe space, the person she turns to for validation, comfort, and understanding. You might not even realize it's happening because she's not necessarily hiding it. She's just quietly shifting her emotional world away from you and into another man's sphere of influence. Psychology behind this sign. This happens when a woman's emotional needs shift. She starts associating relief and safety with another man instead of you. There's a neurochemical component to this. When we share our feelings with someone, and they respond with empathy and understanding, our brains release oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. The more she shares with him and feels understood, the stronger the chemical bond becomes. Once she trusts him with her emotions, she's already replaced you emotionally. This is critical to understand. Emotional intimacy is the foundation of romantic connection for most women. Physical attraction is important, but for women, emotional connection is what sustains desire and commitment. When that connection transfers to another man, you've lost the most important part of the relationship, even if she's still physically present. Why this matters? You might think, at least she's talking to someone, or maybe I haven't been available enough to listen. But here's what you need to understand. If she wanted to share with you and couldn't, a healthy response would be to communicate that need directly or suggest couples therapy. Instead, she's chosen to fulfill that need elsewhere, which means she's already made a subconscious decision about where her emotional loyalty lies. The progression. It usually starts small. A complaint about work shared with a sympathetic colleague. Then it escalates to deeper topics, frustrations about life, doubts about the future, personal fears and dreams. Before you know it, he knows things about her inner world that you don't, and that knowledge creates intimacy that excludes you. Sign 2, she starts comparing you to him, even subtly. You'll notice small comparisons, compliments that include another man's name. These comparisons might seem innocent at first, almost like observations rather than judgments, but they reveal where her attention and admiration are focused. What it sounds like. He's so funny when he tells stories. You should see how he treats his girlfriend. He's always planning surprises. He really listens when people talk, you know. He's so good at explaining things without making you feel stupid. The comparisons can be direct or indirect, but the pattern is unmistakable. Another man's name keeps appearing in contexts where she's describing positive qualities, behaviors, or characteristics. Sometimes the comparison is explicit. He would never forget something like that, but more often it's implied through the way she highlights his virtues in conversation. Psychology behind this sign. Women idealize the person they feel emotionally connected to. She sees him through the lens of admiration, and starts seeing you through the lens of criticism. This is called the halo effect. When we're emotionally drawn to someone, we unconsciously attribute positive qualities to them and overlook their flaws. Meanwhile, the reverse happens with you. She starts noticing things that annoy her, forgetting the positive qualities she once admired. The comparison isn't random. It's her subconscious revealing where her affection has shifted. When a woman is satisfied in her relationship, she doesn't constantly reference other men as examples of desirable behavior. The fact that he's become her reference point for what she wants indicates that he's occupying significant mental and emotional space. What this reveals, comparisons indicate that she's measuring you against him, which means she's already considering him as an alternative, even if only subconsciously. She's building a mental case for why he might be better suited for her than you are. Each comparison is a small brick in a wall she's constructing between you. This is particularly dangerous because these comparisons reshape how she perceives your relationship. Things that never bothered her before suddenly become significant flaws. Qualities she once appreciated in you fade into the background as she focuses on what you're not providing, what he is. The trap. If you try to defend yourself or point out that she's constantly mentioning him, she'll likely accuse you of being insecure or jealous. This defensive response is actually another sign that the emotional bond is significant. If it were truly innocent, she wouldn't need to protect it so aggressively. Sign 3. She becomes secretive about conversations. Transparency disappears when emotional attachment begins. She stops mentioning certain names, her phone is always face down, and she becomes vague about who she's texting, what it looks like. Previously, she might have casually mentioned texting a colleague or talking to someone from her social circle. Now, those mentions disappear. If you ask who she's messaging, she gives non-specific answers. Just a friend, someone from work, nobody important. She might even show frustration at the question, suggesting you're being controlling or suspicious. Her phone behavior changes dramatically. She takes it everywhere, even to the bathroom. She angles it away from you when typing. She's suddenly password-protected devices that were previously accessible. She clears her message history more frequently. When a notification comes through, she quickly dismisses it or turns the phone over before you can see. Female psychology. Secrecy is emotional protection. She's hiding the connection, not because it's physical yet, but because she knows how it looks. On some level, she's aware that what she's doing crosses boundaries. If the friendship were truly innocent, there would be no need to hide it. The secrecy itself proves she knows she's investing emotional energy in a way that threatens your relationship. When a woman guards communication, it's because she's already emotionally invested. She's protecting her access to him because that access has become important to her emotional well-being. The secrecy also creates a private world that excludes you, a space where the two of them exist without your awareness or input. The justification, if confronted, she'll minimize it. I'm allowed to have private conversations, or you don't need to know everyone I talk to. Technically, these statements are true, but they miss the point. The issue isn't privacy in general. It's the selective secrecy around one specific person and the obvious effort to keep that connection hidden from you. What you need to understand, people are transparent about things that are innocent and secretive about things that aren't. It's that simple. If she's hiding conversations, it's because she knows that full transparency would reveal the depth of the emotional bond, and she's not ready to face the implications of that revelation. Sign 4. Her mood depends on his attention. This is one of the most telling signs because it reveals emotional dependency. Her emotions rise and fall depending on his response, not yours. What it looks like, she's suddenly in a great mood after checking her phone, smiling, energetic, more engaged with everything around her. Or she's inexplicably irritated, distracted, or withdrawn when she doesn't hear from him for a while. Her Emotional state seems disconnected from what's actually happening in your shared life together. You might plan a nice evening, but she's distant and distracted. Then her phone buzzes, she checks it, and suddenly she's animated and present. The shift is immediate and obvious, even if she tries to hide it. Her happiness seems contingent on something external that you can't influence, because it's contingent on him. Psychology behind this sign. This emotional fluctuation reveals a dependency loop. Her validation comes from his engagement. When he responds, she feels valued, desired, seen. When he doesn't, she feels anxious, uncertain, sometimes even worthless. This is exactly how romantic attachment works, not how friendship works. When another man can influence her mood more than you can, he already has emotional control. Think about the implications. You're her partner, supposedly the person closest to her, yet your words and actions have less impact on her emotional state than a text message from him. That's not a friendship dynamic, that's a romantic dynamic. The neurochemistry. Every time they interact and she gets that emotional high, her brain reinforces the connection. She's essentially becoming addicted to the feeling he gives her. This creates a cycle where she craves more interaction with him, because each positive exchange strengthens the neural pathways associated with reward and pleasure. What this means for your relationship. When someone else controls your partner's emotional state, you've lost one of the fundamental aspects of intimacy. Part of being in a committed relationship is being each other's primary source of emotional support and joy. When that role is transferred to someone else, the relationship becomes hollow, a matter of routine and habit rather than genuine connection. Sign 5. She no longer looks to you for approval. This sign represents a fundamental shift in how she views your role in her life. She stops asking what you think about her choices, appearance, or opinions. Instead, she acts more self-assured or dismissive. What it looks like, she used to ask for your input. Does this look good? What do you think about this decision? Should I do this or that? Now those questions disappear. She makes choices without consulting you, not because she's become more independent, but because your opinion no longer holds the weight it once did. When you do offer your perspective unsolicited, she dismisses it or seems annoyed that you've commented. She might say things like, "I didn't ask you," or "I can make my own decisions." There's a defensiveness that wasn't there before, a clear signal that she's erected boundaries where none existed previously. Psychology behind this sign. Emotional detachment makes her stop seeking your validation because she's getting affirmation elsewhere. For most women, their partner's opinion matters deeply. They want to be seen, appreciated, and validated by the person they're closest to. When that need shifts to someone else, they naturally stop seeking it from you. This is one of the clearest indicators that another man's opinion matters more to her now. She might be asking him the questions she used to ask you. Does this make sense? What would you do? How do I look? His approval has become more valuable than yours. The bond has shifted from your approval to his recognition. This represents a transfer of emotional authority. You've been demoted from the primary person whose opinion shapes her choices and self-perception to someone whose input is irrelevant or even unwelcome. This shift is devastating because being sought out for guidance and approval is part of what makes you feel needed and valued in a relationship. When that disappears, you're left feeling like a roommate or a financial partner rather than an emotional partner. The relationship continues in form, but not in substance. What to watch for? Pay attention to whether she seems to care about your reactions at all. Does she light up when you compliment her, or does it barely register? When she makes a decision, does she seem interested in your thoughts, or has she stopped even pretending to consider your perspective? The answers to these questions reveal where her emotional investment truly lies. Sign 6. She defends him, even when it doesn't make sense. This is perhaps the most frustrating sign because it creates conflict where none should exist. If you ever question her closeness with him, she'll immediately defend him with disproportionate emotion. What it sounds like: "You're overreacting. He's just a nice guy. You're so insecure. Why can't I have friends? You're being controlling. Not everything is about you." Notice that instead of addressing your concerns directly or providing reassurance, she deflects by attacking your character or your motives. She makes you the problem rather than examining her own behavior or the nature of her relationship with him. Psychology behind this sign. This is cognitive justification. She's protecting the emotional attachment by rationalizing it. Defending him serves multiple psychological purposes. It validates her choice to invest emotionally in him. It maintains her ability to continue the relationship without guilt, and it shifts blame onto you for having a problem with something she's convinced herself is innocent. When she reacts emotionally defensive about him, that's not friendship, that's investment. If it were truly just a platonic friendship, she would be able to discuss your concerns calmly, and perhaps even set boundaries to make you more comfortable. The fact that she can't do this reveals that giving up or limiting the connection would be emotionally difficult for her. The reversal. What's particularly manipulative about this sign is how it turns your reasonable concern into your character flaw. You're not worried about her emotional affair. You're insecure. You're not noticing obvious red flags. You're jealous. You're not trying to protect your relationship. You're controlling. This reversal accomplishes two things. It shuts down the conversation and makes you less likely to bring it up again, and it allows her to avoid examining her own behavior and the true nature of her attachment to him. What this reveals: the intensity of her defense is proportional to the importance of the relationship to her. If he were truly inconsequential, she could easily accommodate your discomfort. The fact that she fights to maintain the connection tells you everything you need to know about how much it means to her. Sign 7. She's physically present but emotionally absent. This final sign is often the most painful because it means you're living with someone who's already gone in every way that matters. What it looks like: she still spends time with you, occupies the same space, goes through the motions of the relationship, but her attention isn't there. Conversations feel hollow, like you're talking to someone who's only partially listening. Her affection feels rehearsed, mechanical, like she's fulfilling an obligation rather than expressing genuine feeling. There's no emotional warmth, just habit. You can sit next to each other on the couch, but there's a chasm between you. You can lie in bed together, but you're miles apart. She's responding to your words, but not really hearing you. She's participating in the relationship, but not investing in it. Psychology behind this sign. Women emotionally withdraw before they physically cheat. It's their way of creating psychological distance to prepare for detachment. This serves several purposes. It makes the eventual breakup or revelation of the affair less emotionally devastating for her because she's already processed the end of the relationship internally. It reduces her guilt because she's already convinced herself the relationship is over, and it protects her from feeling conflicted about her emotional investment in the other man. When she's in the same room, but her heart feels elsewhere. It usually is. You can sense it in 1,000 small ways: the lack of eye contact, the absence of spontaneous affection, the way she doesn't laugh at your jokes anymore, the way conversations never go deep, the way she seems relieved when you leave rather than sad. The death of intimacy. Physical presence without emotional presence is the death of intimacy. You're coexisting, not connecting. This is often more painful than a clean break because you're constantly confronted with the ghost of what the relationship used to be. You remember when her eyes lit up when you came home, when she sought your touch, when she wanted to hear about your day. Now those things are gone, replaced by polite distance and obvious disinterest. What this means: by the time you notice this sign, The emotional affair is usually well established. She's already bonded with someone else, and you're the placeholder. She hasn't left yet, perhaps because of logistics, finances, fear of change, or because the other relationship hasn't progressed to the point where she's ready to make the jump.